Hi everybody. So I'm just going to continue where I left off, creating these adorable elephants that are designed by Jess Davies, also known as CraftLover17 on Instagram. All the supplies were mentioned in part 1, so in this video I'm going to show you how to complete it, and this is the one from the video. So I'm going to continue, and I do hope you enjoy. At this point, you should have 2 of these pieces right now. So I'm going to put one to the side, and I'm going to start with the body. So what I'm going to do is put this back on my hook, and for round 6, 7, and 8, you're going to do 30 single crochets. So each pile I have 30 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 30 stitches. So you're going to do 3 rounds of 30 single crochets. I'm going to start you off with round 6, and then you're going to pause the video, continue, and come back to me when you're done. So for round 6, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Go in your first chain. Make sure you're going the right way. The curl should be going towards you, so don't start on the wrong side. Go in your first chain, add 1 band. Chain 2, 1. So you just want to continue until you get to your stitch marker. Always remove your stitch marker, add it to the band that's around your hook, continue, and come back to me when you're done. For round 9, we're going to decrease on this round, and we're going to decrease to 24 stitches. I'm going to do 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, so I'm adding an extra band. I highly recommend doing the invisible decrease method because for this design, I've tried it without, and it wasn't the same results. So I highly recommend doing the invisible decrease, adding an extra band. Again, 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, adding an extra band. I'm going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So you may want to just copy the layout by pausing the video. Try not to keep up with me, don't feel like that you have to keep up with me. Some people go at different speeds, so always pause the video. The pattern is very repetitive and you can just follow the layout. So I'm going to start with 3 single crochets, 1, 1, 1, and stitch my 2 stitches together by doing a slip stitch in each and leaving them on my hook. So let's start with the first row. Don't go where it's getting pulled, 3 single crochets. Invisible decrease, slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. Leave them on your hook. Three loops, then you slide. Repeat the pattern. Invisible decrease, slip stitch, next stitch, slip stitch, 3 loops and slide. Now you can repeat until you get to the stitch marker. At the last 2 chains, so this is your decrease, slip stitch, three loops and side. Remove your stitch marker. You should have 24 stitches. For rounds 10 and 11, we're going to do 24 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Each pile I have 24 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 24 stitches. I'm going to start you off with round 10, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Don't go where it's getting pulled. First chain, 1 band. You want to pause the video, continue, and come back to me when you're done. For round 12, we're going to decrease to 18 stitches. So what I'm going to do is 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, adding an extra band. 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. We're going to be repeating this pattern 6 times. So again, 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. I'm going to go in the first 2 chains with 1 band in each. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Now, slip stitch in the next 2 chains. Three loops and side. Repeat 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Just follow the layout until you get to the stitch marker. Three loops, slide. You should have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 13, 14, and 15, these are the last rounds for the body. What we're going to do is 18 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. The last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. I'm going to start you off with round 13, and you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So I'm going to go in the first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and add 1 band. The next, 1. So you want to continue until you get to your stitch marker, complete rounds 14 and 15, and come back to me when you're done. So now that you finished the body, what we're going to do is add some stuffing. I've removed my stitch marker. You want to grab some stuffing. Some of my stuffing is really, really tight, so I do like to fluff it open so that it's not one big great ball. When we get to the head, you're going to notice that the head is going to be much larger than the body, and that's okay. It's going to all fit together in place. I'm going to need a little bit more stuffing, but I don't have any more in front of me. So you just want to fill it up to the top and have it quite sturdy. Now for the head piece. You should already have this piece done, the first 5 rounds completed from part 1 of the video for this design, and you should have 30 stitches. I'm just going to put this band on my hook. Your curl should be going up, and I'm going to go around. We're going to increase this round to 36 stitches. So to do that, I'm going to do 4 single crochets followed by an increase. 4 single crochets followed by an increase. And you're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So every 5th chain, you're adding 2 bands. I'm going to do the first 2 rows with you, and then you're going to pause the video to complete. So 1 band in the first 4 chains. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Don't go where it's getting pulled, and you can start. Now 2 bands, it's the increase, 2 bands in that 1 chain. And repeat, 4 single crochets followed by an increase. If at any point in time you get confused, please do leave me a comment below in the comment section, and I will try my best to help you out. From here on, the pattern is very repetitive. So if you follow the layout, it should be good to go. So you just want to pause the video, continue 4 more times till you get to your stitch marker, and then come back to me when you're done. So right now you should have 36 stitches, and I'm on round 7. Round 7, we're going to increase 1 more time. We're going to increase to 42 stitches. So the pattern again is repetitive. We're going to do this time we're going to do 5 single crochets followed by an increase. 5 single crochets followed by an increase, and you're going to repeat that 6 times. I'm going to do the first 2 rounds with you, and then you're going to pause the video and continue and come back to me when you're done. So right now, 1 band in the first 5 chains. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Repeat 5 single crochets followed by an increase. So just every 6th chain you're adding 2 bands. So you just want to repeat the pattern 4 more times, pause the video, and come back to me when you're done. For rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, you're going to do 42 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. I highly suggest adding the stitch markers to each one of the rounds, Because there's going to be 11 rounds of 42 bands, it is very easy to lose track of your rounds. So I really, really recommend leaving the stitch markers on. I've done this elephant 3 times and I've had to redo the head a couple of times. So what we're going to do is here I have 42 bands in each pile. So at the end of each round, you should have 42 stitches. Round 14, we're going to add the eyes. So I'm going to start you off on round 8, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. First chain, 1 band. Just going all the way around, 42 single crochets. So I think you can continue till you get to the stitch marker, add a new stitch marker, come back to me when you're done. So now we're on round 14. Before I get to that, this is what it should look like so far for the head. You should have rounds 8 done, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. You're going to start round 14, so you're going to start by adding a stitch marker to the band that's around your hook. And for round 14, we're going to do 42 single crochets. So I have 42 bands here, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 2. For the eyes, I'm using a guiding band, and this band, I'm going to use my scissors at the end to cut them off. They are going to be my placement for my safety eyes. If you're using the beads, you want to attach it to the band. Just slide it through the band. The eyes are going to go on chains 19 and 27. So 10, 9, and then 27. So you might want to just copy the layout, and we're going to get started. So 1 band in each chain. I'm going to go all the way to the second eye with you, and then you're going to pause the video to come back to me when you're done. So I'm going to do 18 single crochets. The 19th chain, I'm adding the first eye. So I've just done 10 single crochets. Now I'm going to do 8 more before I get to the eye. So right now you should have 18 stitches completed. I'm just going to add the eye. I'm going to go through my chain, take my band, and I'm only going to wrap it around 3 times just to make it a little bit easier when I go to cut. So I've just wrapped it around my hook 3 times, slide this little band on, and then bring it through. Now continue to chain 27, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do 7 single crochets, 8th add an eye. So I'm at chain 27 now. Wrap 3 times around your hook and slide onto your rubber band. And then you're just going to continue with the pattern, 1 single crochet, all the way until you get to your stitch marker. So you can pause the video, continue, and then come back to me when you're done. For rounds 15, 16, 17, and 18, you're going to do 42 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. I'm going to start you off with round 15, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Again, I recommend adding the stitch markers. So I'm now on round 15, so we need a stitch marker. And I'm going to go in my first chain, not where it's getting pulled, just adding my first band. So at the end of these rounds, you should have 42 stitches. Each pile, I have 42 bands. So at the end of each round, please make sure that you have the 42 stitches so you can keep the same shape as the same shape as me. So I think you can pause the video now, continue, and come back to me when you're done. For round 9, I'm on round 19 so far, and this is what you should have. Before I get to that, I'm going to be adding invisible decreases, so 1 second with that. What you should have is all of your stitch markers on. Rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. What I'm going to do before I explain the pattern for round 19 is actually remove my stitch markers, but I'm going to be leaving this one on rounds 8. That's going to help us to sew on the ears. I need a stitch marker on this one that I have around my hook, so I can start with round 19. So I'm leaving the first one, and then I'm just going to remove all the others. If you're using C-clips, please try really hard not to pull when you're removing the C-clips off of the bands. So you can see I have 1 left on rounds 8 and 1 on my new round now. So for round 19, we're going to do 5 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 5 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, and we're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. I'm going to do the first 2 rounds with you, or first 2 rows with you, and then you're going to pause the video to complete the rest. So it's all repetitive. Don't go where it's getting pulled. I'm going to go in the first 5 chains with 1 band in each. Now the invisible decrease, slip stitch in the next 2 chains and leave them on your hook. Three loops and slide. Again, 5 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Don't go where it's getting pulled. invisible decrease, slip stitch in each. Three loops and slide. So you want to repeat this pattern 4 more times. Pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So I finished round 19 and you should have 36 stitches right now. I'm going to remove my stitch marker, add it to the band that's around my hook, and I'm going to start with round 20. For round 20, we're going to decrease to 30 stitches. So the pattern is 4 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 4 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. And we're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So again, I'm going to do the first 2 rows with you, and then you're going to pause the video to complete the rest and come back to me when you're done. So 1 band in the first 4 chains. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Now, slip stitch in the next 2 chains. Three loops and slide. Repeat 4 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Slip stitch, slip stitch. Three loops and slide. So you want to repeat this pattern 4 more times, all the way until you get to your stitch marker. Pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So far this is what I have. And I removed my stitch marker and added it to the band that was around my hook, and I'm going to start with round 21. For round 21, we're going to decrease to 24 stitches. So this time the pattern is 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. And you're going to repeat this 6 times. So you'll have 24 stitches when you're done. So I'm going to get started. 3 single crochets. 1, 1, 1, invisible decrease. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Again, I'm going to do the first 2 rounds with you, or first 2 rows. Slip stitch, slip stitch in the next chain. 3 loops and slide. Repeat 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Three loops and slide. So you want to pause the video, continue 4 more times, follow the pattern 4 more times, all the way until you get to the stitch marker. For round 22, which is our second last round for the head, what we're going to do is 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. And you're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So I'm just adding an extra band. I'm going to do the first 2 rows with you, and then you're going to pause the video. So don't go where it's getting pulled. Do 2 single crochets. That's 1, the next stitch with 1. Invisible decrease. Three loops and slide. Repeat 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. slip stitch, slip stitch, 3 loops, and slide. So you just want to repeat the pattern 4 more times, and you will have 18 stitches when you're done. For round 23, you should have your stitch marker on the band that's around your hook here. You should have 18 stitches. For round 23, you're just going to do 18 single crochets. This is the last round, so the last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed, bringing that last band through all the loops that are on your hook. I'm going to start you off. So I have 18 bands here, 6, 12, and 18. 1 band in each until you get to the stitch marker. So just repeat, continue until you get to the stitch marker, last band slip knot. Pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Now I'm just going to add the safety eyes and some stuffing. What I'm going to do first is you want to make sure that you have your slip knot. I'm just going to remove my stitch marker and place the safety eyes on. So my safety eyes are going to go in the inside of this guiding band right here. So the stitch right, the opening right beside it, and the inside of the other side. See if you can see. I'm just going to attach my backings and then cut the rubber bands. Now when you're cutting the rubber bands, please be careful that you don't cut the actual body, the bands for the head. And now to fill the head, you want to keep the same shape that it has. So you're going to have to kind of fiddle around. Open up your stuffing, try not to have it so it's in such a ball kind of idea. And we are going to have to play around with this because we're going to have to add on the trunk. And I'm going to do that next. So you might have to just move your stuffing around. We may have to just kind of like remove some of the stuffing and then add it again just a couple of times so you can get that wire through if you've used the wire. You don't need a lot of stuffing in this head. You may just have it kind of empty. You're just trying to keep the shape of it. And you want the stuffing to come down to about here. You don't want it all like straight up like this. It has a short wide head, if I may say that. Right now, that's all I'm going to put. And then I'm going to work with what I have here. If I need to add more after, I can add more after. Now we're going to attach the trunk to the head. So with your 2 ends here, you're going to find the placement. And my eyes are here, and you're going to see kind of like if you look down evenly, like a nice little circle right here. That's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to push it through. I'm going to try to get it through all of the stuffing here, not to the other side, just to the middle. So that's where I'm going to have to move around some of the stuffing. If you have to, move some out, get it through, and place it on. Now, when I first did this, I did this elephant like 3 times already. You may have to cut the ends of your wire. I do apologize because I'm thinking that it's just a little bit too long. Or what you could do is just curl it up. And I'm thinking, I can't remember, I'm so sorry. I think that's what I actually did, was just curled it up and had it inside so it had more support. It's completely up to you. I do apologize. So now I'm just going to fill the stuffing right around the trunk. like inside the head around that wire. I remember writing down how big I cut the wire, but I don't remember what I did with the ends of the wire. I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is what you should have right now. Now, your slip knot should be not at the top, but to the side, kind of. Right underneath the eye here, because this bigger piece is the top part that we're going to sew right directly onto the face. So you're going to see this side is kind of bigger than this side. Now to attach the trunk on, I'm going to use 12 bands and I'm going to do 12 slip stitches around. So having your slip knot kind of to the side here, what I'm going to do is grab not the stitch right above the slip knot, but I'm going to grab the next 3 stitches, and those 3 stitches are going to be grabbing the bands that are in the middle of the eye. Now you're going to see one stitch that's right beside the eye. Go to the next stitch, and that's going to be the first stitch, 2 and 3, and that's where I'm going to stop right there. So in order to do this, I have to go through the trunk first, skip the stitch above the slip knot, and go to the next. Don't grab the stitch in the center of the eye here, grab the next one over. And you're going to bring your band through all of the loops that are on your hook. Grab the next stitch on the trunk, the next stitch right beside in the center here, and do a slip stitch. Bring it through all of the loops, grab your end and slide. Now one more for the top, for the next chain on the trunk and the next chain on the face. And I have an extra stitch left over, so it's even with the other side. Slip stitch. Now for the 4th stitch here, it is not going to be at the top, but it's going to be at the stitch right below. So if you give it a tug and you place it flat, you're going to know where to grab. Let your hook be your guide for the entire thing. So what I mean is put your hook straight down, and where it's telling you to grab, that's where you're going to grab. Slip stitch. And to repeat myself here, next stitch on the trunk, put your hook straight down, loosen it up, and it will tell you where to grab. Next stitch. Now we're kind of like at the bottom of the trunk, and the trunk is not going down here. If you put it straight down, all your hook here, you're not going to be too far away from where you started at the top. So put your hook down and let it be the guide of where you're grabbing. So I'm not stretching it down. Slip stitch. Now you're going to stay on the same row for the next stitch. Make sure you don't grab the same stitch or the same chain on the trunk, and slip stitch. Again, you want to be at the same row of chains here that you have on the head. Just let your hook be the guide. And don't pull, just let it be the guide. Where your hook is, that's where you're grabbing. Now this one is a slip knot, so all you're doing is just pulling it a bit tighter. And you're going to fix up the wire just to make sure. I bent it and just kind of went to the front a little bit and fluffed it up. And you can fix all that after. You just want to make sure that it's centered, it's even. I hope I'm not screaming. And I'm gonna need more stuffing because this is kind of empty, so I'm just gonna add in a little bit more, and then we will attach the legs to the body. And then you can just fool around with that. Now I'm going to sew on the head to the body, and I think it's just easier than adding the legs right now. So we're going to do the head to the body by doing 18 slip stitches. I have 6, 12, and 18 bands. You're going to start at the center back of the body, going through the chains, and at the center back of the head. You're going to do a slip stitch, bringing your band through both of those chains, on your hook, and slide. Go to the next stitch on the body, the next stitch on the head. Try not to pull the stuffing, and slip stitch, bringing it through all the loops. Grabbing the end and slide. Body first and then the head. You're going to do this all the way around until you get to the end. Your last band, you're just going to do a slip knot, so you're just tying it tighter. You want to make sure that it's going on. If you have too much stuffing, you could always pull some out with your hook, kind of push it back in with the eraser part of a pencil. If you don't have enough, you can put some stuffing against the head and push it in using a pencil. This is my last chain, so I'm just going to pull it through all the loops and just give it a little tug just to tie it off. And so far, this is what you should have. The little slip knot on the nose, you can just pull it through and just hide them through the face. And you could do that to the other. Now we're going to attach the legs, and the first thing that I'm going to do is add a guiding band, like how I did here, and this is going to show us how to separate the legs. So you may, I suggest you do that too. You could reuse that band again. I've completely lost the band. And I'm going to place that first, and then I'm going to show you how to attach the left leg. So what I'm going to do first is do this guiding band, and we're going to find the placement. So somewhere in the center, and I'm going to go right to the bottom. When you get to the bottom, you're going to start to see your stitches. If you kind of fold this in half, you're going to see these bands right here. I'm going to find the center, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab one of these bands here. So if you fold it kind of in half, you're going to see these stitches right here. I'm just finding the center one, and I'm going to do a slip stitch with this band just to find the placement. Now I'm going to show you how to sew on the left leg, and I'm going to be doing 10 slip stitches. So if you're more advanced, after I show you the placement, you can just do 10 slip stitches around. I can't do it, so I'm going to show you how I can get the legs on nice and evenly. What I'm going to do first is find the piece that I want to go in on the leg. So I'm going to have my slip stitch at the front here of me, facing me, and I'm going to count 5 stitches to my right. So right beside the slip knot is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go from the back towards the tip facing me, and that's how I'm going to start. So I'm going to leave my hook on that for a second. Now I'm going to find 5 stitches to my right below my guiding band. So if you fold this in half, and you'll find where your guiding band is, those stitches are right at this half point. I'm going to use the stitches right below. So I'm going to count 5 stitches so you can see where my guiding band is right below. So it's kind of like at the bottom of the body, but I found that this way is the way that the elephant will sit up. So 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to put my hook through. I don't want to be through my slip knot here, so give me a second. So this is how I'm going to start. Now, I'm going to start here. I'm using 10 bands in total. This is going to be my first stitch and second stitch. These 2 stitches, I'm doing a slip stitch, and I'm going to stop right there. So I'm going to bring my band through, my first one, grab the end, and slide. Now I'm going to go to the next stitch over on the leg, and the next stitch over on the body. So give it a tug, and I'm just grabbing the next stitch over, right beside, and slip stitch. Now this one, I'm going to give it a tug, bring it through all the bands, so kind of like a slip knot, or you are going to do a slip knot. Give it a tug. Now, from where you started, you're going to count 5 stitches to the top. So this would be where you started is 1, 2, 3, 4. No, stop, sorry. You're going to count 5 stitches, not counting where you started. So where you started, you're going to count 5 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm by the slip knot. So again, I started here, beginning, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sorry. Now, place the leg flat. Let your hook be the guide of where you're going to grab. So don't pull it. Let it be the guide. So let it loose, and that's where you're going to grab. Now I'm going to bring my band through. So this was the top band. Bring it through on my hook and slide. Now I'm going to do 4 slip stitches this way towards the center of the body. So I'm going to go through my chain. I'm not stretching out, letting it be your guide, and you're going to see you're not using the same stitch that you just used. You're kind of using right inside that next stitch there. So I'm here, I'm going right below, and I'm grabbing my band and doing a slip stitch on my hook and slide. The next one on the leg, go right in between. So I'm right below where my last stitch was. My wording is messed up, I'm sorry. The next stitch on the leg, I'm going to let it be the guide. And bring it through. Now the last stitch on this side, your stitches are hidden. They're right underneath, so don't pull out. So I'm right above where I first started with my first stitch. This band, bring it through all the loops and do a slip knot. Now we have 3 more bands to use on the other side. So you have 3 more stitches. So don't go where it's getting pulled here. You'll find 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. So bring it. You're going to be right above where you ended right there. The next stitch, let your hook be the guide. And the last stitch. And slip knot. And there's one leg on. Now for the elephant's right leg. Again, what I'm going to do is count 5 stitches to the back first, bringing my slip knot to the front, and counting 5 stitches. Right beside the slip knot is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. From the back, you want the tip facing you. And I'm going to count 5 stitches again below now to your left. So right below is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to bring your first band through. So basically slip stitch on your hook and side. Now bring the tip of your leg, place it flat on the body so you can see what you're doing. Go to the next stitch right beside it, so towards your right and towards your guiding band. The next stitch on the leg and the next stitch right beside where you went. So take your time to figure out where you went and go to the next stitch over. You want to do a slip knot, so basically tying it tighter, going through all the loops, grabbing your end and slide. Now I'm going to do this side of the leg first. So I'm going to count 5 stitches towards the top. So don't go where you just went. Go above 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I should be on this side of the slip knot, sorry. So again, I'm here where I started, right above 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to place this by letting our hook be the guide, placing it flat, and grabbing the chain on the body. So now you want to make sure that you're even with the other side. Grab the top band and do a slip knot or a slip stitch, because we can continue with the other 4 stitches. So I didn't pull too tight. Now you have 4 chains left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have 4 bands here on this side. Do slip stitches. So I'm going to put my hook flat and I'm just grabbing the stitch that's right below where I just left off. Try to bring it through all the loops and slip stitch. Next chain, let your hook be the guide. I'm underneath kind of my last stitch because I'm grabbing the next chain on the body there. And this last chain, I'm going to do a slip knot just to secure it. And I'm underneath, the stitch is kind of hidden. And pull it tighter. So now I have 3 chains left and I have 3 bands left. So I'm going to figure out where I just left off here at my second stitch that I created, and I'm going to go to the stitch right above. So you'll have 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3. Put it flat, don't pull. the next, right above, and the next. This one, we just need to pull tighter just to secure it. And if it's not sitting, it's either you didn't go low enough on the bottom, that's what I figured out, or you just need to fluff up the actual body and the stuffing. So what you could do is bring some of the stuffing with your hook, and you're just pulling it down with your hook into the neck area, and then it should just sit up nicely. Now I'm going to sew on the arms, and I'm going to go kind of like on the side here like that. If you've done any of the designs that I've made before, all you're doing is just doing a slip knot with an extra band. But you can remove your guiding band and hide all your slip knots for your leg at any point in time, really, just bringing all these bands through the body and just hiding them. So on the arms, I'm just going to put them sideways like that, making sure that, you know, they're not off to the back or off to the front. So you kind of want to position them, and I'm sewing them sideways. So you have 4 bands to bring through, and you're just going to do 4 single crochets with those bands. So bringing each band through, the chains go right above, bring it through inside, bring it through inside, and you should end at the neck area, just right below it. Now I'm going to grab onto the sewing band that I have attached to the arm and doing a slip knot with my band, bringing it through and giving it a tug. Now you can do that with the other arm, and you could hide the slip knot. So again, just putting it flat against the body. I'm going sideways. Now I want to make sure that I'm even with the other side. And you have 4 bands to bring through and tie it off. Try to go underneath the chains where your sewing bands are. Turn it around, and I'm grabbing onto the sewing band that's attached to the arm and a slip knot. And then you can hide all those bands. Now we're going to sew on the ears, and we're going to do 20 slip stitches, or you can do it the way that I'm about to show you. So if you're a little bit more advanced and you can get the ears on, you want to do 20 slip stitches. So I'm going to be using 20 bands. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the right ear, the elephant's left ear, and I'm going to fold this in half so that the slip knot is facing the bottom of the ear. Now the top is where we're going to start. That's why I asked you to leave round 8 on, so you can kind of see that's where you're going to be, and that's where you're going to start. But let's put our hook through. So fold it in half. You don't really need the slip knot. Let it fold naturally, so the slip knot's kind of to the side. And I'm going to put my hook through the top stitch that's going sideways. And that's going to be my starting stitch. And I'm just going to secure it by doing a little slip knot. So I want to find my placement. The ear is not going to go on straight. It's going to kind of curl. So we want to find the placement of where we want to start. If I go here, that might be a little bit too close to the eyes. So I'm going to go a stitch back and kind of fix it up. And I'm going to go right there. So maybe this might help. I'm kind of even with my arms. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch, or sorry, a slip knot, bringing it through just to secure it. Now I'm going to grab the 11th band and secure it at the bottom. So by putting it kind of curled down, don't worry, it's going to kind of fall naturally when you're attaching it if you let your hook be the guide. But I want to count 10 stitches from where I started. So I started here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is down here. And I'm going to let it fall naturally. Try to, don't pull. And I'm going to grab the stitch on the body. We want to be even with this side. And that's the 11th band. So do a slip knot so we can get it in place. Now what I want to do is I'm going to do 10 slip stitches, or sorry, I'm going to do the remaining 9 slip stitches on this side. I found that the stitches go nicely if the face of the elephant is facing you. So I'm going to figure out where I just ended here and go to the next stitch right above. Now as you're doing it, let your hook be the guide, but you want to kind of flatten out the ear. So you're going to go right above and grab the stitches where you just ended. And you're going to do 9 single crochets up. The last band, just do a slip knot just to secure it. Make sure you grab the chain on both the ear and then the body. And you're bringing your bands through all the loops that are on your hook. You may want to just kind of like stop for a second just to make sure that it's going on okay. So my stitches that I'm grabbing on the head are like right below the chains on the ears. So it's falling naturally. We're going to have to do that again. And this, I'm going to do a slip knot just to secure it. That didn't work. So I'm just going to fix up the ear just to make sure. And that seems to be okay. Now with the remaining 10 bands, you're going to do, the remaining 9 bands, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. But when you're grabbing the stitches on the other side, you're not going to be like far away from these stitches. You're just going to be grabbing the next stitch over on each one, and then you're going to get that curl effect. So if you don't, you're going to get a wider ear and it's going to be more straight. So I'm going to start right at the bottom where I last went off. I'm going to go to the stitch over. So this is attached to the body, so I'm going to go right above. And I'm going to grab the stitch right beside where I just grabbed. And you're going to do slip stitches, going through the ear first, and then the stitch on the body, on the head. So grabbing a stitch close to what you grabbed on the previous side, on the other side. This is the last band, so I'm just going to secure it. By giving it a tug. And the first ear is on. So by doing a slip knot here and here at the top, I didn't think that it made a difference. If you want, you could have continued by redoing this stitch if you like, or you can just kind of like hide the slip knots. It depends on you. So just go in and grab the slip knots and then just hide them by bringing them through. Now for the other ear. We're going to repeat exactly what we just did for this ear. So I'm going to fold the ear in half, having my slip knot towards the bottom. I seem to have done it perfectly fine with the slip knot to the bottom, and I'm going to fold it in half. My slip knot's kind of to the side, and I'm finding that stitch that's going sideways. And I'm going to put my hook through. Just kind of keep it there for a second. Now I want to find the placement of where I want to start. So again, I'm keeping in mind my round 8 here, and we kind of want to have it around that area. And we want to make sure that we're at the same distance away from the eyes as the other ear. So I'm trying to get it, and it's kind of, you need to make sure you're at the same height as the other ear. So if I go here, I just want to place it, make sure, and that placement's okay. And I'm looking at the distance, and I'm going to try that. So I'm going to do a slip knot with the first stitch. And I'm going to count 10 stitches, so I'm using my 11th band all the way to the bottom. So from the front of the face, I went here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I'm 1 stitch away from this band, this slip knot. So now we want to make sure that we're even with this side of the ear. And again, the same distance. So I'm just going to grab the band and then just make sure that it's even. I'm going to have to move over. It looks kind of far. And that, I think, is okay. If I fold my ears, they're at the same distance. So I'm going to do a slip knot with the 11th band. Now I'm going to do 9 single crochets in the front. So this is how I have the elephant positioned. And I'm not going to go where I started. I'm going to grab my first and kind of fixing up the ear and letting the hook be the guide of where to grab. So bringing my band through all the loops, folding the ear, letting it be the guide. I think after this stitch, I'm just going to make sure that getting on both the ears, they look even. Because I still could be sewing them on further away from each other. And that looks okay. So I'm just going to continue. And this is my 9th stitch here in the front, and I'm just going to tie it off. So now I'm going to go to the back And again, you want to make sure that you're just at the stitches right beside where you sewed on the other side. So I have to find my placement. I'm going to do 9 single crochets to the end, so I have 9 more bands. I'm not going to go where I started here, where my slip knot is at the top. I'm going to go to the next chain and try to go right beside or right below where I started, beside where I originally went on the other side. Let your hook be your guide. And I have one more chain left. So this is the one that I'm going to tie it off. So I'm just going to pull tighter. And she's done. All I need to do is just hide the slip knots, clean her up a little bit. You could add some eyelashes if you'd like, little slip knots, and just cut the band. You could add some bows to her top part of her head, and you want to remove your... Now I'm going to show you how to do the tail. I'm going to do a chain of 16, single bands, and doubled. And so I'm going to find the center back at the bottom. So using 16 bands in total, we're going to create a chain. So I'm going to find the back, where you want it to go, and I'm probably going to choose here. Now what I'm going to do is take a single band and just wrap it around my hook twice, grab it, and bring it through. And that's the start of my chain. So I'm going to do that in total of 16 times. You can use more bands, you can use a couple less, it's up to you. So wrap around your hook twice, grab it, and make a chain. I'm messing up my bands. So I have a chain of 16. You may just want to give it a stretch so that they're nice and even. And this is what it should look like. Now for the tip of the tail, what I'm going to do is wrap 6 bands around my hook twice. So I'm just going to move up the project just a little bit here, the tail, and take 6 bands and wrap them around my hook twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And just kind of push them up. So just twice and push. 1 and 2 and push. Now what I want to do is with a single band, I'm going to do a slip knot. So I need to bring this single band through all of these loops that are on my hook. So just very slowly, bring them through, even the tail. So now I have both ends on my hook and slide and do a slip knot. This end of the slip knot, you can just wrap around the tail, make sure it's secured. Wrap around the tail, maybe, I don't know, 3 times. I grabbed a couple of loops, so you don't want to do that. There you go. So she's done. You can hide all the slip knots, everything, clean her up. And thanks for watching.